This is Abe Friedtanzer from Awards Buzz, and I'm very excited to be speaking with Alma Har'el about Lady in the Lake. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you doing? Thank you for
Good.
doing it.
Of course. Can you tell me how you first came upon this book and the idea of it as a TV show?
Yeah, I was approached by a wonderful man who's no longer with us, Jean-Marc Vallée, who came to me to ask me to take it on. He was kind of going to direct it himself and then felt like he couldn't do it and was saw Honey Boy at the time, and him and his producing partner Nathan Ross thought that I would be able to kind of develop it in a way that would sort of bring something to it that they were looking for, I guess, and understood Natalie was attached, and then read the book and was really drawn into it from many obvious reasons. So I yeah, decided to take it on unexpectedly. It was kind of the last thing I thought I would do.
Why was that? What was it that was so unusual or different about it for you?
Well, I really wasn't looking to do a TV show, first of all. I really wanted to make another film, and I also just not really ever drawn to do things that are period or political or even murder mystery. So there was really nothing about it that spoke to me on paper. But when I read it and when I met with Natalie, I kind of felt there was something about it. And obviously, um, as we know now more than ever, it's just kind of themes that a lot of people don't want to actually deal with and look at, and historical kind of truth of a certain kind of feminism, and as well as just I guess my own experience of being a Jewish immigrant in the US and understanding a lot of things about the relationship between, you know, Black women and white Jewish women. And so all of that stuff just kind of felt very close to home. And my partner, Byron Bowers, who plays Slappy in the show, which is a kind of a part that I wrote for him, was also, a big reason to why I wanted to do it.
There's a lot of things you said I want to follow up on, but I think I'll start with a lot of the show's Jewish content, especially in the early episodes, is very interesting because it's just sort of part of the storyline. There's not a lot of explanation of it. It's just sort of baked in there as additional authenticity. Was there any
Mm.
sort of consideration of trying to make sure audiences knew like the specifics of what was happening, or better just to be this is part of culture and it's just what it is and we'll leave it there?
I mean, I'm a big fan of just throwing people into, a world that feels familiar to its own characters, as opposed to kind of trying to indoctrinate them or educate them. I personally really don't like stuff like that and not don't watch that kind of stuff. So yeah, I never had a kind of an urge to sort of educate people about Judaism. It was just kind of more to show them what it feels like to be a Jewish woman in the 60s from the perspective of the character. And since the character knows its own life, and I don't think I don't like explaining too much, and I'm sure it was hard for some people and kind of repelled them to a certain degree. But I think that those who were meant to see it and understand it or drawn to it found their way in.
Yeah, I like that. I also think that it's very much two separate stories that, do converge, but did it feel like you were making two different shows at certain points?
Um, we filmed the whole show cross-bordered, so we filmed it all out of order. And sometimes we would film one scene and a person would say a line and the other person would answer 3 months later in a different location. So it felt more like we felt more like it was kind of like a big puzzle. But I didn't. It is kind of there is a feeling you're watching two worlds that are very realized and that you're kind of trying to figure out why are you watching them until you slowly kind of understand the connection. And that was always kind of what was interesting to me in the book. In the book, it's a lot more focused on Maddie's world. Um, but to me, that was always kind of what was interesting, it was to kind of travel between these two worlds that existed at the same time, but were so unaware of each other and so unfamiliar, like with each other's circumstances and predicaments and I feel like I wanted to capture that because I think a lot of people to this day, and more than ever, live in their own world and don't fully grasp that there are whole other worlds, that are really close by and intersect with them.
You enjoy the process of adapting someone else's work, and is that a challenge you like?
I mean, I really enjoyed adapting this book specifically because, again, I thought that it like presented a really flawed character that I enjoyed following, which was Maddie. And then I enjoyed just discovering the wealth of culture, of Black culture in Baltimore in the 60s, the music, the numbers game, the just the nuance of every aspect of the lives people had back then that were unknown to me. So that was really kind of the research part of it, and bringing that to life was had a had a lot of it's kind of depth to it, I guess. And then but really the most incredible stuff for me is always just working with the actors. So I'm just in awe of their work, and kind of always kind of stays with me afterwards, witnessing witnessing certain moments like that. Somebody feels like they're kind of channeling some spirit.
Just had the chance to speak with Moses Ingram, who's quite impressive in this role. And I, of course, have seen her in a few things like The Queen's Gambit and Obi-Wan Kenobi and the film The End, which is actually coming out right now. What did you know
Yeah.
of her and what made her right for this role for you?
Oh, I mean, I think every director would be lucky to work with Moses. So but it was actually a very hard moment for us in our production because we had to recast the character of Cleo, and Moses just came in like, it was like a knockout. There's a real kind of connection between her and this character. It was her first time doing something back home because she's from Baltimore, and her family's even from that neighborhood. So she really wanted that part, and for a reason. Like it was, there was, she was kind of like, once she came in, there was no way of even seeing what was before. And we actually rewrote a lot of the things for her because she obviously is such a huge talent and can also sing and perform and dance in a certain way that felt very cathartic and specific to that moment of her character in episode 3 and things like that. That was just it all became um very realized kind of once she stepped in.
I'm also a big fan of Pruitt Taylor Vince, and I feel like this might be one of his kinder roles, even if he still, is a little seedy in some ways. But I
Oh,
think of him
of,
more
of
as, the serial killer or something like that, in other projects.
no, he was so excited to play actually like a different character, and I'm such a huge fan of his. He's like a character. I love character actors. Um and he's just one of the best. I mean, watching him and Natalie work together was like some of the highlights of our shoot. Such a Some actors just, it's a different generation too.
You also have a smaller role in the ensemble for someone who's had a really big year, and that's Mikey Madison. Did she
Oh
have
yeah,
any
Mikey.
anywhere near this profile? I'd seen her in better things and some other things, but I feel like now she's just exploded, and it's interesting timing with the show and then the movie.
Yeah, Mikey is like, I saw Nora. I mean, Mikey is incredible. I mean, she's such a star. And obviously, like as you could see in Nora, but also kind of hints of it in our show, is like she has like great comedic timing. And she does it in a way that kind of never feels out of character or for the joke. She's really sort of character driven, and in real life she's actually like this very introspective and sort of like you know, not the kind of person you would think, when you watch that movie. So it was so cool to work with her and sort of discover her power on screen. It's a trip, She's not the usual kind of person that you meet in this occupation, which I loved working with her. Such a thoughtful, introspective, and quiet kind of person. And then you just put the camera on her and she just explodes and devours the screen. It's beautiful.
I've also been impressed by Noah Jupe's career. I think Honey Boy is such a fantastic performance, and I think I mean, I spoke to him recently about Franklin, and I know he's in The Undoing. He seems to have something for complicated family relationships, and I think that's no different here than in Honey Boy, even if the nature of it. Have you been following his career since you worked together, and did you know that you wanted him for this
Or-
part?
Yeah, of course. What he's doing next? Is that what you're asking?
No, no, just that you knew you wanted him for here. Was he an obvious choice?
Well, he's really kind of part of my life ever since Honey Boy, and he's really sort of we love his family, we love him, we kind of hang out when we can, and his brother is also an actor now, by the way, his little brother. And when I made this, I was actually kind of adamant at first to cast a Jewish boy for that part, and actually found somebody I really like. And I was just like, I'm just gonna have, I just have to think about it one more time, and kind of spoke to Noah, and we did like kind of we talked about it and about the part and his insight into it, and just like I was just immediately feeling like I have to do it with him. And I think him and Natalie have a few scenes that are very memorable in this, and he he does have a way of, for his very young age, understanding the kind of mechanics of dysfunctional families. um, Even though his family is extremely, actually, I would say one of the more joyous families I know. But his mother is an actress, and I think she's over the years have given him a lot of ways to analyze character, and he's done really well with it.
He also seems equally committed to never using his real accent. I think he's been an American in everything I've seen him in, so it's especially impressive.
Yeah, interesting. He used to even talk with an American accent in real life, which he now stopped doing last year, which I think is a good sign.
Well, do you know what's next for you? And has this show improved your opinion of wanting to do television in the future?
Absolutely not. Like actually like really looking forward to making a film again. But you never know. It's like you just kind of it all comes down to something kind of grabbing you, and that's what happens. It's not the format. It's like, it's the story.
Well, on that note, this is Awards Buzz, so I'm always curious to people who I'm talking to. Is there something you've seen recently, a film, a show, or performance that's really sticking with you as particularly impressive?
Um, well, I really enjoyed Guy Pearce in The Brutalist. That was like very impressive. Thought it was like a really incredible performance, and and of course loved Mikey and Honora. And glad you brought that up. And every one of the actors there, the two Russian guys and everybody in it, I hope they get their flowers. It was like a really kind of fun movie to watch.
Well, thank you so much, Alma. It was a pleasure to meet you.
You too, man. Thank you.